Hello, I'm Vasya and I am from Karnataka. I am a biology educator with an MSc in biochemistry and over 2 years of experience in education. I started my teaching journey at Akash Institute in Pune, where I spent over a year helping students prepare for competitive exams like NTSE, MSCJS, NEET. Currently, I'm teaching at BGS Institute, Karnataka, where I continue to support students excelling in biology. I'm passionate about making this complex biological concepts very accessible and engaging to students by creating this interactive classroom where students can thrive. I'm very excited to bring my expertise and enthusiasm for teaching to this new role and contribute to the success of students. So, with this, I would like to start my demo lecture that is on circulation of blood. So, we know that blood circulates through our entire body. So why is the circulation important? What is actually transporting in our body? So this is what we will be dealing with today. So I'm going to share my screen. So starting with our lecture, that is circulation. That means circulation. So something that has to be transported in and out of the body. So what is this thing? Why is the circulation of blood very important in our body? So there are essential things that are required to our body, right? So the circulation of blood actually refers to something that is actually delivered and something that is actually removed from our body, something that is actually delivered to our body, and something that is removed from our body. Correct. So, delivery, what are the things that are actually delivered to our body by the blood? So, delivery, for example, there is a delivery system in the blood cells. So, actually, the thing that is delivered is essential, first essential thing that is nutrient. So, nutrients are actually delivered to us. Nutrients in the form of it can be glucose, nutrients in the form of amino acids, nutrients in the form of fatty acids. So these are the essential nutrients that our body requires. That needs to be delivered to our body, and that delivery is occurring via our blood system. So there are certain toxic things that we excrete as waste material. For example, we excrete this uric acid. We also excrete ammonia. So these are the excretory waste that has to be removed from our toxic. So these are the things like uric acid, ammonia. This has to be removed from our body. So this removal of this toxic things is also done by blood circulation. So there are certain things that we have to understand the pathway and how this different things without mixing with each other. See, these are the essential things that has to be delivered into our body, and these are the toxic waste that has to be removed outside the body. Right? So how is this gonna happen without any mixing of blood? That is what we'll be studying today because human beings are a complex beings alive, right? So they require complex mechanism for working, and it's amazing the way our body works. So first thing is, apart from the nutrients, there are certain gases that has to be delivered. For example, we know the gases is oxygen. It is very essential for respiration, right? For the breakdown of food. So oxygen is the thing that needs to be delivered. When the oxygen is delivered to the entire parts of the body, there is this exhaust, right? Metabolic when cellular respiration happens, there is the gaseous exhaust we get. That is carbon dioxide that has to be excreted out of the body. So it also delivers gases like oxygen, and it also removes certain gases like carbon dioxide. So these are the things that actually happen in this blood circulation of blood. That is why the circulation of blood is very important because it transports essential nutrients like glucose, fatty acids, amino acids, and it also takes away the toxic waste like uric acid, ammonia, and carbon dioxide out of our system. So that is why the transportation is very essential mechanism in our body. So speaking about the human body, now we'll be discussing about how this transport pathway actually takes place. So first thing we have that oxygen delivery, right? So let's talk a little bit about this blood. So blood actually travels in its own pathway, correct? Blood has to travel in its own pathway. So blood is actually transported by actually the three pathways. There are blood, they are called as blood vessels. Okay, blood vessels. So we have in essentially we have three types of blood vessels in our system. First is called as the artery, and the second system is called as the vein, and the third are called as the capillaries. Okay, arteries, veins, and capillaries. So to make it easy, I'm only going to tell you roughly about what are arteries, what are the functions of veins, and what are the functions of capillaries. Okay, so arteries are actually the largest blood vessels found, and arteries usually carry this oxygenated blood. There is an exception that we are going to talk about, but just remember that arteries are the types of blood vessels that actually carry oxygenated blood into our system. And veins are actually those blood vessels that carry deoxygenated or carbon dioxide rich or waste rich blood into away from our system. And capillaries are actually this network like structures that are connected with each other that help in the transportation that we'll be studying in a little bit. Okay, so now let's study how this actually works, everything. Okay, so first we have lungs. So we get oxygen from the lungs when we inhale air. So there is oxygen present, right? So now imagine we have inhaled air and oxygen is present in our lungs. So from these lungs, the oxygen need to travel to the heart, right? And the oxygen can't directly go to the heart. So blood carries. So blood, while mixed with oxygen, it is called as the oxygenated blood. When this oxygenated blood goes to the heart, actually it enters the left side of the heart. Okay, I'll tell you the structure in the next slide. So when it enters the left side of the heart, there is a path. I just told you that there are certain exceptions where arteries, I told you, arteries carry the oxygenated blood, whereas the veins carry deoxygenated blood. So this here, the red colored vessel that I have drawn here, that is not an artery. As I told you, all the arteries carry oxygenated blood, except for one. Okay, so here oxygenated blood is actually carried by a vein called as pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein. So this pulmonary vein actually carries the oxygen-rich blood to the left side of the heart. So there is constant contraction, relaxation, contraction, relaxation. So see, one thing that we have to remember is ventricles are connected with arteries and veins. Okay, what is connected with what we'll be discussing shortly. So next, from when the left atrium contracts, we know which part of the heart. Let's not dive deeper into that because we're only studying about the pathway of circulation of blood. So left atrium. So left atrium, when contracts, the blood moves to the left ventricle. So from the left ventricle, we have this largest artery present here that you can see, largest artery present, that is aorta. So now the oxygen-rich blood is pumped out of the heart into a biggest vessel, blood vessel, that is artery, that is aorta. So from the aorta carries this oxygen-rich blood to entire parts of the body. So when this oxygen-rich blood reaches the body part, what happens is there is cellular respiration. So when the cellular respiration happens, there is exhaust of carbon dioxide. That is removal of carbon dioxide. Now this carbon dioxide can't go back in the same pathway because there will be mixing of blood. So what happens is it takes another path, another pathway to travel through. So it actually goes via vein. As I told, all the deoxygenated blood is passed via vein, right? So the vein that carries the carbon dioxide rich blood away from the body part is called as the vena cava. Vena cava. So this vena cava actually transports this deoxygenated blood away from the body part and it brings back to the heart from the right side. Okay. So now we have deoxygenated blood inside the right atrium that was blocked by vena cava. So right atrium contracts and then that moves to right ventricle. When the right ventricle contracts, moves to lungs. There is a pathway by from where it moves to lungs too. Okay. So what is this? What is this? See, this is the deoxygenated blood that has to go to lungs for oxygenation. Oxygenation. So the blood travels in a pathway, like a blood vessel. Is it a vein? Is it an artery? Deoxygenated blood always moves in a vein, but there is an exception. There is an exception. So here, the deoxygenated blood moves in the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery. Even though all the arteries carry oxygenated blood and all the veins carry deoxygenated blood, but for exception. So when it comes from lungs to heart to carry deoxygenated blood, we have to say it is a vein. The name of the vein is pulmonary vein. The same way, there is an artery that actually carries the deoxygenated blood, and the name of that artery is going to be pulmonary artery. Okay? So let's dive a little bit deeper to understand how the circulation of blood works. So we know that in a healthy individual, healthy adult, based on the sex, age, and everything. So the blood, the volume of blood varies. So approximately telling that in a human body, almost 7% of body weight to 7% volume of blood. So this is how it all works out. So this is the rough diagram that I've drawn. So we have lungs, as I told you. So from the lungs, and this is the left part of the heart, this is the right part of the heart, and how the circulation occurs, we are going to study that. Okay. So here, so when the oxygen-rich blood enters the heart, so here there is a type of circulation going on, right? So this type of circulation where the oxygenated blood actually travels to the different body parts, that is called as the systemic circulation. Systemic circulation, okay? And then when from entire body part it moves back to the heart, that type of circulation is called as the pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary. So we have two types of circulation, that is systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation. We have just seen that our 7% of our body weight is blood, volume of blood, right? So that lungs, what they do is they gain oxygen and via diffusion, they move into what is this? What is this? We have written this is pulmonary vein. So pulmonary vein actually gives the oxygen rich blood. Oxygen rich blood has now entered the left side of the heart. So we know in the left side of the heart, we have on the upper side, we have left atrium, and on the downside, we have the left ventricle. Right? So when the contraction and relaxation happens, what happens? I told you that from the ventricle, it moves via a largest artery that is called as the aorta. So from the aorta, when it reaches, I told you from the aorta, it has to go to different body parts. So while it reaches there is this aorta is branched. See, you can see these branches here. These branches are actually called as the arterioles. Okay. Always remember, aorta is actually very, it has abundant amount of elastic tissue present, so that it can contract, relax, because it has to flow, the rush of the blood is going to be enormous. So aorta has these small branch-like structures called as arterioles that is connected to different parts of the body. Okay. So first thing, there are different, like the blood passes through the different parts of the body. For example, like coronary artery, that means it feeds itself. Coronary artery is the artery present in the heart itself. So heart needs to function, right? And it needs nutrients and all the other essential things like any different part of the body. So what happens? Coronary artery consumes 5% of the blood, and then comes the brain and the gastrointestinal tract, and also our kidneys, muscles, and skin. Okay, this is how blood transports to different parts of the body. Once the oxygen-rich blood enters all the cells and tissues, what happens is there will be cellular respiration. When the cellular respiration happens, I told you there is an exhaust, right? There is removal of the toxic waste that we don't require. That is, it's essentially that is carbon dioxide. So now this carbon dioxide can't go back in the same pathway. If it moves in the same pathway, there will be mixing of blood. So that is why it moves via different pathway. So this carbon dioxide is actually picked up. So here in between, there are capillaries. So arteries are connected with mesh-like structures known as arterioles, and via there, arterioles actually deliver this oxygen-rich blood to different parts of the body. Now, when the oxygen-rich blood has released itself in the different parts of the body, there will be respiration, and then the capillaries are present in between. Okay, so from the capillary, it moves to the branch-like structures that you can see in the blue here. Yes, these branch-like structures are called as venules. Venules. These are minor branch-like structures that join together and then they open in the vein. Okay, so small structures in connected to aorta are called as the arteriole. The same with small branch-like structures connected with vein are called as the venule. Okay, so now we know that deoxygenated blood passes via vein. Okay, so this deoxygenated blood passes via vein. And vein, which vein is that? I just told you that vena cava. Vena cava. So vena cava actually carries the blood, deoxygenated blood. So the heart gets the deoxygenated blood. Now the oxygenation takes this deoxygenated blood to lungs. If they ask you, then you know the answer to that. That is pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery is the artery that actually carries the deoxygenated blood from heart to lungs. So I hope you understood my lecture for today. Thank you for considering my application. Thank you.